Order, please. Let us resume proceedings. Witnesses, you will now retake the stand. I presume you heard the defense counsel's summation examination?
Oh, yeah, Governor.
I did, Gov, I did.
Mr. Skulkin. Core!
Blimey.
This is gonna be hard work. Earlier in this trial, you gave the following testimony about your actions after you entered Windybanks. Well, it was Bedlam soon as, weren't it?
It was, Nash, it was. Didn't even have time to put me juice out of my lazy luggage.
However, that was a lie. You brothers. Core!
Blimey.
On the night in question, you rifled through the items on the victim's counter. We never done nothing of the sort.
How'd you figure that out? You will now give formal testimony once again. You will tell the court precisely what happened on the night in question, and this time, you will tell the truth. Each lie that passes your lips serves to increase the severity of your punishment. And that, gentlemen, may deal a crushing blow to your chances of ever seeing the light of day again. A thought verse pondering, perhaps.
Say no more, Gov. We'll hear ya.
We'll blab, we'll squeak, we'll peach.
Right then. Alright, we did knock a few things over, but we weren't rifling for nothing.
It was when we heard a gunshot, see? Made us both jump, and all that stuff went flying.
Lummy, it didn't have give me a fright. We was thinking the shooter'd come out the door and get us next.
We stuck everything back where we found it and scurried straight into him in the black.
We couldn't have shot the pawnbroker, see? We never even had a chance, did we?
Right. So you admit to the defense's accusation? You did indeed ransack Mr. Windybank's cattle shop on the night in question?
Not ransack, Governor, no.
That's right, Nash, that's right. It's more like we tie it up. Yeah. Sorry. By their own admission, these buzzers entered the pawnbrokery under dubious circumstances. However, they panicked and fled on hearing the gunshot, having first made good their mess.
The way you say it, we hardly sound like roughs at all.
We don't, Nash, we don't. Can't you make it sound a bit more cutthroat?
It can't just be a coincidence that these men showed up at Windybanks that night. There's more to their testimony than meets the eye. I'm sure of it. Alright. Let's try this again. Alright, we did knock a few things over, but we weren't rifling for nothing. If that's the case, then why didn't you testify to that effect in the first place? Well, you know, we ain't exactly squeaky clean, are we?
We ain't, Nash, we ain't. If we admitted to something like that, people would think we was up to no good.
Well said, Ringo, me old China. We'd only land ourselves in even more trouble. And in fact now, as a result of lying in your previous testimony, that's exactly what you've done. Landed yourselves in even more trouble.
That's rotten luck.
Says the rotten apple eater.
Witnesses, explain your actions to the court. Why did you ransack the victim's counter?
We never ransacked nothing.
Right, Nash, right. More like we tied the place up.
Sorry. It was when we heard the gunshot, see? Made us both jump and all that stuff went flying.
So what you're saying is, the sound of the gunshot shocked you so much, you knocked all those things off the counter? Well, it shocked one of us that much, yeah. This bag of nerves needs to learn to keep his shirt on.
Look, it was loud, alright? Blimey. Me dad granny would have woken up in that bang.
Big bruv here screamed like a bloomin' baby and fell over on the counter. He knocked over a lot of books, a candlestick, and some skull whatnot.
It got tackled with some marionette. What knocked over a picture frame? What knocked them scales on the floor?
You've really mastered working quietly then.
What a racket. Me granny would have been scared back into a grave at a clatter like that.
So in short, the gunshot took you by surprise. And then some. I mean, it was quiet as a mouse, and then all of a sudden, BAM!
Excuse me.
What? Inspector Gregson? Do you have something to add?
Like I keep saying, I don't appreciate being lumped in with these scoundrels.
No, something to add about their testimony? You seemed to react just now at what Mr. Skulkin said. Did it make you think of something?
It's probably nothing, of course. I wouldn't even bother to mention it. Only, well, that is, cases don't get solved if you ignore the little details.
How about you just tell us what's on your mind?
Right. As you know, we brought these fellas into the yard for questioning last night, and the statement they gave them, told a slightly different story to what they say now.
Did it?
You claim you heard the victim shout so now before the gunshot. Might have, Gov. Might have. That's written down now you mention it. Granted, it's only a minor detail, but still, I can't help feeling like perhaps you've been a bit sloppy with your testimony, eh, fellas?
If I discover the witness's testimony has been any more sloppy than it has hitherto proven to be, I shall be forced to bring the very harshest punishment to bear against them.
Easy, easy. We'll get it right this time.
That's it. Yep, it's all coming back to me now.
Then speak! Supplement your testimony with whatever details have miraculously returned to your questionable minds, sirs. Right you are, Gov. Just before a gunshot, we heard a voice shouting out, "Give me that gun!"
Hold it.
So in fact, you heard the voice and the gunshot almost simultaneously.
We did, Gov, we did.
Although, I suppose if you're being honest, we'd heard a kind of a wavering voice before the yell and all.
If you don't want to get shot,
give me that gun! Bam!
ah, caught a thing.
A career in acting tragically missed. And where were the voices coming from? Could you tell?
Course we could. From the other side of the door behind the counter it was.
From the storeroom where the victim was found dead.
And the voice you heard, it was that of the victim, Mr. Windybank. Oh, me granny's right. Of course it was.
On his granny's life. Of course it was. So that would mean that you both knew Mr. Windybank and the sound of his voice. Hey? So that would what?
What, Nash? What? Any ideas?
Yes, Counsel, indeed it would.
Nah. We didn't know the geezer.
I almost like to deny it when that blowing on that fancy clothes giving his evil eye. you value your lives, you will ensure your testimony is accurate and true. On my granny's life it is.
On his granny's life, it must be. It's a good job his granny's dead.
To summarize then, immediately after hearing the voice of the victim, you then hears a gunshot, causing you to stumble and upset the items at the counter, scattering them over the shop floor. You may say we're clumsy.
Don't forget we tied it up after like good little boys. Anyway, the way I see it. The bloke what owned the place was holding a gun, so he should have just fired instead of yelling at the girl.
Hold it!
You're saying that Mr. Winterbank had a gun in his hands? Oh yeah, bet that was a sight, eh? Them two waving them guns at each other must have got pretty heated. I mean, just before he shouted, we heard the geezer say, if you don't want to get shot.
Didn't really sound like a mate of mine. More of an empty threat, you could say. Mr. Winterbank was known to keep a revolver on his shop counter at all times. People say that to protect the articles in his keeping, he'd readily put a bullet in someone's head if required. That someone being himself, of course.
Good grief! Extraordinary division indeed, if alarmingly misguided.
Well, he certainly sounded like he was ready to pull the trigger the other night. Only the person he was gonna shoot beat him to it. Cooked his goose proper.
But he wish he'd squeeze your trigger instead of wasting time shouting, "Give me that gun!"
And it was directly after those words that you heard the gunshot. It was more or less the same time, Gov. Give me that gun!
Bang!
Ah!
Kind of thing.
Yeah, a career in acting very tragically missed. Then we heard the sound of someone hitting the deck. Before everything went dead quiet.
Alright, we done a slap dance job tighten the place up.
Lummy, it didn't have given me a fright. We was thinking the shooter'd come out of the door and get us next.
Hold it!
So you didn't try to open the storeroom door then? Not on your life.
It went awfully quiet like that, it did. Put the wind right up me. But anyway, the door was locked, wasn't it? No way that was opening.
Yeah, of course. It was locked from the inside. Or so we've been led to believe.
It was, Gav, it was. From the inside.
How did you know that? Right, so we had no way of knowing what was going on in there, did we? Unless there was some other way to get a view of the inside of the storeroom. Like through the keyhole or a spy hole, perhaps? Don't ring no bells. Don't light no lights. We had to cut and run before we noticed anything like that. We're still cutting our teeth in this game, see? But one day, we'll really cut the mustard. Please, cut it out.
But as we know, behind that door was the victim's lifeless body, with the accused not 2 feet away.
Yeah, unfortunately. Explain her passing out then. Gina was in there, unconscious, with the gun in her hand. Why would someone shoot at a person then fall unconscious? Unless there was some outside interference.
To confirm, would it be correct to say that neither of you set foot inside the storeroom? That's right, Gav, that's right.
Couldn't have, even if we'd wanted to.
We shot everything back where we found it and scarped it straight into him in the black.
Hold it!
Yeah, whereupon you fired a shot from your own gun at Mr. Sherlock Sholmes. Oh, yeah. We was a bit acy there.
We was, Nash, we was. Truth be told, I was already shouting like a leaf when the lot turned up.
If you're shouting like a leaf, don't put a loaded gun in your hand.
Good advice, mate. Good advice.
Truth be told, me mind went really blank.
Before your mind goes totally blank, make sure you don't have a loaded gun in your hand.
Mental load mate, miss.
Alright, we let you down the street, but apparently we look dodgy to the compass or something, so you clapped the derbies on us like winking. And after you'd been handcuffed, the police found this revolver in your possession, correct? Well, yeah.
But listen, that proves it, doesn't it? Eh? We couldn't have shot the pawnbroker, see? We never even had a chance, did we?
Hold it!
And why should we believe that? Eh? What? Well, 'cause it's true, innit?
The place was totally empty when we were in. At that time, the victim was already in the storeroom, having been forced to open the door by the accused who had the gun to his head. In other words, on the night in question, these two witnesses never even laid eyes on the proprietor of the pawnbrokery, Mr. Vandybank. Correct?
You've got it, mister. Down to a T. So the Skulkin brothers never actually encountered Mr. Windybank. Is that really true, I wonder? That's it? That's the full extent of their testimony? What is it, Runo? You look very fierce. I could pour you some herbal tea if you're tired. Oh, thank you, but I'm fine. Being such a logical thinker, you'll probably laugh, but I feel as though these brothers are still hiding something. Something important. It is nothing more than a feeling, though. I have no proof to support it. Well, feelings can be very logical at times. Sorry? People's expressions, the movement of their eyes, the words they choose. You can take all that in, and your brain will quietly analyze it to come up with a feeling, like you described. You've concluded that there's something suspicious about this testimony without knowing why, that's all. I think you should trust your instincts. Iris, thank you. Sometimes I think if she's 10 years old, I must be 5. Alright, we did knock a few things over, but we weren't rifling for nothing. Okay. So what do we do now? You had to pop your 2 prints in here to start with, you see. And then, when you look through the eyepieces, you can see the image in 3 dimensions. The important thing is to get right. The important thing to get right is the position of the 2 prints. I don't know who came up with the idea of a stereoscope, but it's really quite fascinating. Is that it? Oh. Ooh, look at that. It's totally changed shape, just from one little button press. Well, that is what the button's for, Runo. You're just like Early. You boys love pressing buttons, don't you? Especially if you don't know what to do. Us boys, says the 10-year-old girl. Anyway, now you can see that it is really a stereoscope, can't you? Yeah, I can definitely see that. That's about it. You have to pop your 2 prints in here to start with, see? And then when you look through eyepieces, you can see the dimensions. Okay. We'll leave it open for now, I guess. Okay. We heard a voice yelling out, "Give me that gun." The boy could own the place was owning a gun, so he should have fired instead of yelling at the girl. Let me give me a fright. There we go. Alright. I was thinking of that, but I didn't remember them saying that clearly, that he was shot in the back, but I mean, the picture really shows it, but I wasn't sure. I thought, it was close range. Oh, it says right there from the back. Okay, well, there we go. Yeah, I was thinking that if they were looking at each other, then how did he manage to get shot in the back? So which statement do I do it? We should do it here, right? I think. Alright, so the picture, maybe? Let's do the picture. It's more decisive than the autopsy report.
Objection.
There we go. So you're saying that on the night in question, the victim, Mr. Windybank, was wielding a gun? Is that correct? That's it, Gov. You've got the picture.
Yes, Nash, yes. No question.
And yet, photographic evidence obtained immediately after the incident clearly shows that Mr. Windybank was not holding a firearm of any description.
You what?
Gordon Bennett, that ain't right.
Objection.
There can be no questions as the victim's revolver was used in the incident. I would remind the court that Mr. Windybank's gun was found at the scene. Not only was it identified as a murder weapon, but it was found in the accused's hand.
Oh, okay. Yeah, that mall tool used the victim's own gun to finish him off. Give me that gun!
Kind of thing.
Hold it.
Stay exactly where you are. Right there.
Aye?
If the crime had taken place as you've so colorfully described in your testimony, it would give rise to an undeniable and significant inconsistency in the final moments you just acted out.
Goodness, are you sure, Counsel?
You intrigue me, my learned friend, but let's see some evidence to support your claim. Where is the proof that demonstrates this inconsistency in the witness's portrayal of the victim's final moments?
Well, I could show the picture again, but let's do this.
Take that.
According to their testimony, the witnesses claim to have heard a shout of "Give me that gun," followed by the gunshot.
Indeed, with the two events happening almost simultaneously, or so we've been led to believe.
Yes, that's right. Now, if that testimony is true, it would mean that at the moment of death, the victim and his attacker would have been facing each other. However, in the autopsy report, it clearly states that the victim died instantly after being shot from behind. So, as I stated before, there is an undeniable inconsistency in your testimony, Mr. and Mr. Skulkin.
No!
But it's the God's honest truth.
Ease, Nash, ease! What he was shot at, huh?
The shopkeeper had a gun in his hand. We saw it with our own bleeding eyes. Did I hear you right just now? You actually saw Mr. Windybank holding a gun? Somewhat like that might have slipped out. Ladies and gentlemen, you have all just heard the admission by these two witnesses that on the night in question, they actually saw, with their own eyes, the victim wielding a gun. Which can only mean that despite their testimony to the contrary, the Skulkin brothers must have encountered the victim in person.
Nash?
No!
Order! Witnesses, explain yourself at once.
Well, the thing is, it weren't supposed to...
It would seem that my previous warning fell on deaf ears. I made it quite clear that false witness would be the death of you.
Might I understand that you replaced the untruths of your original testimony with renewed lies?
Ever so sorry, Governor. Truth is, see, we,
Cut it out, Nash. Cut it out. If we blab now, you know what it'll do to us.
He? Who are they talking about?
Let me make your position here perfectly clear. You will talk. There is no other option available to you.
Bruv, come on. The game's up.
But have I got time for guys?
In case it hasn't quite sunk in yet, no matter how hard you try to hide it, the truth will come out.
On the night in question, it is now apparent that you brothers met face to face with the victim. I demand that you testify again to explain the precise circumstances under which this meeting took place.
Well,
Do we have to?
On pain of death. I suggest you make yourselves fully aware that this is your very last chance to tell the truth.
whew, alright. We're giving him a third chance, are we? Sure.
Why not? Alright, so we just got in shot with Gav, and Eve the sigh of relief when the geezer showed his mug.
Give me that gun, he bellowed, and then he flew at us like he was possessed. I thought we'd had it.
For an old geezer, the blood was strong as an ox. He chopped me over the counter.
I pulled me gun on him, and then he legged it through that door into the back room.
We never had nothing to do with killing you. That's all what happened, I swear. So you're not telling us that moments before the victim was killed in the storeroom, you in fact encountered him as the man part of the shop?
Well, yeah. Sorry.
Well, we find ourselves at an interesting juncture. This changes matters considerably.
But honest, Governor, this time.
This time, Nash. This time, we ain't got nothing more to hide.
Very well. Counsel for the defense, you may proceed with your cross-examination.
Yes, my lord.
This is it. The moment I've been waiting for. Alright, so he just got inside a gaff and heaved a sigh of relief when the geezer showed his mark.
When you say geezer, I presume you mean the victim and proprietor of the shop, Mr. Windybank?
Who else? Sorry, I mean that's right.
We was keeping a close eye on the entrance to the gaff, obviously. But we never thought no one was gonna come out of the back room like that. The back room being the pawnbrokery storeroom.
Yeah, that must be where he popped from. Only place he could have been. So it would seem the victim was already in the storeroom when these brothers entered the premises.
Which means Jenny must have been in there at that point as well. But that doesn't make sense, does it? If Gina had threatened Mr. Windybank into the storeroom with her at gunpoint, let me try this again. If Gina had threatened Mr. Windybank into the storeroom with her at gunpoint, then why would he have emerged from the same room all alone when the brothers arrived?
I don't know.
Yeah, me neither. Did you see the accused at that time?
What, that mole chuler? Couldn't tell ya.
No way, Cobber. We had bigger fish to fry then. I mean, the old geezer just lost it. Give me that gun, he bellowed, and then he flew at us like he was possessed. I thought we'd had it. Hold it! You mentioned that Mr. Windybank shouted those words in your previous testimony too. However, you claim that you heard him yelling them on the other side of the storeroom door. Oh, did we? But the truth is, he was shouting those words at you, wasn't he? Well, yeah.
Was the victim Mr. Windybank wielding a gun at the time?
Was he ever? Blimey lummy, a great ugly barrel he had, pointed straight at me front of his piece.
So what you're saying is, you definitely saw Mr. Windybank with the gun at that time, is that right?
He's spot on.
Then all of a sudden, he came at us, he did.
It was bedlam. I didn't know who was going for who.
You were clearly all going for each other.
Like Nash said, we thought we had it. I mean, for an old geezer, a bloke was strong as an ox. He chopped me over the counter.
Yeah, I noticed that you mentioned the counter in your previous testimony too.
Well, yeah, of course we did.
He knocked over a load of books, a candlestick, and some skull whatnot.
I got tangled with some marionette, what knocked over a picture frame, what knocked damp scales on the floor.
So in fact, it wasn't the sound of the gunshot that shocked you and made you knock those things off the counter. Well, Big Bruv here went flying over that counter like a gunshot, I can tell you that much. Then the old geezer pinned him.
He did, Nash. He did. If you hadn't been there, a bloke would have fattened me like a bloomin' pancake in seconds.
At the time in question, the alarm was raised at the local police station via secret cable from the pawnbrokery. There's a button underneath the counter used to activate it, which was presumably pressed by the victim.
That's right. When the brothers fled the scene and back onto the street, they ran straight into the arriving police, didn't they? Poor Mr. Windybank. He did everything he could to protect his shop. I pulled me gun on him, and then he legged it through that door into the back room. Were you intending to shoot Mr. Windybank? Nah, never. I was just, you know, looking out from above, weren't I? He was being flattened, don't forget. By a man whose shop was being burgled. Yeah.
Then, the man fled in the storeroom when you pointed your gun at him, is that it?
Yeah, that's it. He shoved me away, then ran off through that door and shut himself in. There's something about that last remark. Something that doesn't quite ring true. I wonder why Mr. Windybank ran away into the storeroom. What? Well, according to what everyone's saying, Ginny was in there waiting for him with a gun. Ah. Yeah, that's right. Gina allegedly used Mr. Windybank's gun to threaten him and force him to open the storeroom door. In which case, how did the gun end up in Mr. Windybank's hands again? I have no idea, but that is strange, isn't it? This little inconsistency could be significant. I should make a mental note of it. Look, the point is, me and me bruv here...
That's right, Nash, that's right. Me and me brother here. We never had nothing to do with killing him. That's all what happened, I swear.
You say you had nothing to do with it. Nothing at all.
Nothing, Gav, nothing. The old geezer went and shut himself in the back room, didn't he?
Locked it was, from the inside.
We know it was, 'cause we tried to open it.
But it's a decent door, that one. Good and strong. Wouldn't budge an inch.
So in the end, the situation remains unchanged. Inside the storeroom with the pawnbrokers there was only one other person. The sole person who could possibly have shot the victim. The accused, Miss Gina Lestrade.
It would indeed appear so. What say you to that, Kansu? I don't know. Was there anyone else apart from Gina who could have possibly shot Mr. Windybank? Nah. He's right. Gina's the only one. There was no one else in that room.
With an attitude like that, Reno, it really will be all over.
Now a 10-year-old is reading the expression on my face.
Well, you just don't have that many. Wide-eyed, sweating, smug and happy. That's about it.
Surely there's more than that, isn't there?
Anyway, I think you might want to consider some other possibilities here. Or rather, I think you have to, otherwise we won't get anywhere. Or rather, you won't get anywhere. I'm just here for more support, remember?
And it's at times like this that I really appreciate it the most. So, that's all these brothers are willing to reveal this time, is it?
They're still haunting something, don't you think?
Yeah, I'm sure of it. And not just a minor detail either.
It was almost certainly because of these two that poor Mr. Windybank... Well, you can't let them get away with it, Reno.
I know, but I get the feeling that there's even less evidence at my disposal this time to prove that they did it.
We've come so far. Now it's time to finish him off.
Well, I'll do my best. Alright. Let's go back to that statement again. There we go. And then we're gonna have to skip all that. There could have been. Mr. and Mr. Skulkin. Eh? What?
What shall I look for?
From the moment you admitted that you'd encountered the victim face to face that night, the course of this trial changed completely. It did?
What is your point, my learned friend?
The question we must answer is, who could have shot Mr. Windybank? And it is the belief of the defense that the defendant is not the only possible answer at all.
You have my attention. In that case, let us return to this plan of the premises. The victim was killed in the storeroom, which was locked from the inside. Those are the facts. So pray, what other possible answer to this question of who shot the man could there be?
Kanzu, you must now provide answers to the court in respect of two conundrums. Two, my lord? Twice as many chances to be right, maybe? Indeed. Namely, from what location did the culprit shoot the victim? And furthermore, where was the victim at the time? Understood, my lord.
Are you alright right now?
I'm not entirely sure, but there's one thing I'm sure about. If I can prove that there's a credible new alternative to what happened, it would change Gina's prospects hugely.
So now, time for some clarity. Show the court in this plan the answers to the questions posed by his lordship. If you believe someone else could have killed the victim, indicate from where that person could have fired the gun.
Right here. The defense believes that the culprit could have shot the victim from this location, here.
And in answer to the second question, assuming the culprit fired from the location indicated, where was the victim at the time?
Here? He shot him through the peephole. The culprit shot the victim from outside the storeroom.
Continue.
Mr. Windybank died instantly from a bullet wound in his back. Looking at the stain of the blood on the storeroom floor, it doesn't appear that the body was moved after death, which tells us that he was almost certainly shot while he was in the storeroom. However, the crucial point is, where was the shooter when the fatal bullet was fired? So you're adamant that the shot was fired from outside the storeroom? Well, according to the Skulkin brothers' earlier testimony, I pulled me gun on him, and then he lighted through that door into the back room. If Mr. Winterbank ran away through the door, we have to assume that the door was open at the time.
Oh!
It was at precisely that moment when the victim was fleeing for his life that these brothers had the perfect opportunity to shoot the man in the back once he was inside the storeroom. Come to think of it, do you remember what the prosecutor said at the start of the trial?
Moving on to the finding of Scotland Yard's coroner. His report states that the bullet enters the body on a rising diagonal trajectory. It means the victim was likely shot by someone significantly shorter in height than himself.
Poor man, shot while he was running as fast as he could to safety. Ah, of course. He would have been leaning forward as he was running away. So even if the bullet was fired horizontally, it would still have entered his body on an upward trajectory. So the culprit isn't necessarily someone shorter than Mr. Winterbank.
I'm sure my learned friend can't have forgotten that the storeroom door was found closed and locked from the inside. You claim that the victim was shot as he fled into the room? Do you also claim his corpse was dexterous enough to turn the key in the lock?
Oh, but what if someone else locked the door? Yeah, there is someone else who could have locked the storeroom door.
Is that so?
Very well then, counsel. Present your hypothesis as occurred. In the scenario just described, the defense's assertion is that the victim was shot from the outside the storeroom. In which case, who shot and locked the storeroom door from the inside?
Take that!
Obviously, the person who locked the door was the only other person inside the storeroom at the time. The defendant, Miss Gina Lestrade.
Objection!
That's absurd. You suggesting that the accused deliberately engineered the sealed room? For what possible reason? Such actions would only serve to tighten the noose around her neck.
I'm inclined to agree, I must say. Well, counsel?
Yeah, that's a tricky one, that, isn't it?
Half-baked notions have no place in my courtroom, counsel. Remember that, please.
But of course Jenny would have locked the door. It almost goes without saying, doesn't it? It does. Well, if I was Jenny in that situation, I know I would have locked the door as quickly as I could. I mean, those two burglars had just fired a gun in her direction, hadn't they? Oh yeah, obviously. Before the two brothers arrived, Miss Lestrade and Mr. Winterbank were in the storeroom together. Now, I don't know what went on between them at that time, but at some point, Mr. Winterbank must have heard the intruders breaking into his shop and left the storeroom.
Intruders, eh? That's us, bruv. If your theory is correct, that would leave the accused alone in the storeroom.
Yes, it would. Then probably only moments later, the victim fled back through the storeroom door, hoping to escape danger. Hit in the back by the bullet, Mr. Winterbank fell to the floor where he was, just inside the storeroom. And what we have to ask ourselves now is, what would the defendant have done in that moment?
I see where you're going with this.
Outside the storeroom was a terrifying killer who had just murdered Mr. Winterbank. As soon as that thought struck Miss Lestrade, she slammed the door shut and locked it, in order to save her own life. We ain't the ones who done it.
We ain't, Gav, we ain't. You gotta believe us. I mean, come on. We'd never shoot no one.
That's blatantly untrue. I know for a fact that you would, because before my own eyes you shot Mr. Harlock Sholmes. There is only one logical conclusion here. Mr. and Mr. Skulkin, you brothers had every opportunity to have been the true perpetrators of Mr. Windybank's murder. Yep.
Where does this leave us? You mean to say it wasn't the pickpocket who shot the prom broker after all?
I should have known it was those three brothers. They look as shady as a dense forest.
That was amazing, Runo. All the members of the jury seem to be firmly on your side now.
I know. First time ever. And probably the last.
Well, I think you've done it. Surely they'll have to give a verdict of not...
An admirable effort, my learned friend.
What's this now?
He's laughing?
You find the situation amusing, Lord Van Zeeks? I myself found the defense argument most persuasive.
I dare say such chicanery? Such chicanery is the bread and butter of the street performers in your provincial eastern nation. But such blatantly malicious conjuring tricks amount to nothing more than inexcusable pettifoggery here.
What?
The hypothesis you put forth so ostensibly credibly cannot and will not stand. Because, you see, it contains a fatal flaw.
A fatal flaw?
Do you mean to tell me that you are unaware of your logic's failing?
Only one bullet was fired from each gun.
I say, Lord Van Zings, might be an idea to explain this ballet conjuring trick or whatever it is to the troops on the ground.
The fatal flaw in my learned friend's argument is really very simple to understand. Assuming you're not too dim-witted to count bullets.
By George, count bullets?
Oh dear. He noticed then.
Huh? What's everyone talking about?
Counsel!
Yes, sir?
Tell the court how many bullets were found at the scene of the crime.
Two. Two bullets.
Correct. The first, that which hits the victim in the back, ending his life. And the second, that which struck the detective, Mr. Sherlock Holmes, on his arrival at the scene.
Indeed. The defense presented a picture showing the damage caused by the second bullet earlier in the proceedings. I can still explain this. The bullet which injured Mr. Holmes appears to have passed through his body to strike the calendar.
Your lordship's understanding is correct. Furthermore, we know there are two firearms involved in the incident. The revolver belonging to the victim, Mr. Windybank, and the Skulkin brothers' revolver. The evidence shows that a single bullet was fired from each gun.
Yes, indeed it does. A single bullet from each.
Now then, my learned friend. You yourself told the court only moments ago that these two brothers shot Mr. Sherlock Holmes right before your eyes.
Yeah, I did. Oh my goodness, I think you'll find that if the single bullet that was fired from the brothers' gun hit Mr. Holmes, it means...
Windybank not shot by the same gun. Stop. Only one bullet. Stop.
Exactly. Yes, this Japanese street performer presented an ostensibly credible argument. However, it was never anything more than a diversionary trick with no hope of standing up to scrutiny.
Oh. I can still find an explanation. I can still explain this.
Order! Order! Order!
Pray forgive the discourtesy of flinging the dregs of this hallowed nectar into the public gallery.
Lord Van Zeeks?
But this court needs to open its eyes. The accused, Miss Gina Lestrade, is no ordinary little girl. Despite her young years, she can, regrettably, no longer be described as a juvenile. No, the person in the dock is far from a law-abiding citizen. She has a past riddled with criminal conduct. The truth is, the accused broke into the pawnbrokery on the night in question with loathsome intent. As we can see beyond doubt in this print, which depicts her threatening the victim with a murder weapon. And I have here in my possession one more piece of evidence the prosecution wishes to present.
What's that disc?
I'll be taking that, whatever it is, and make it down to the yard. Thank you very much.
No, don't give it to him. It's mine, that is. Mine.
I'm sorry, miss, but anything belonging to McGee has to be taken in as evidence now.
Yeah, that music box disc. McGilden's music box disc.
The very day before the hateful murder of Mr. Windybank, the accused attempted to make off with this article, which clearly doesn't belong to her, and with none of the subtlety of a pickpocket, I might add, but by brute force and brazen impudence.
Good gracious!
Make no mistake, any sympathy for the accused on the account of her years is misguided and dangerous. There are no depths to which this girl would not stoop if pushed, no crime she would not commit. The court forgets that fact at its peril.
I see. I think it would be prudent to take this music box disc into evidence, Kazit. As a grim testament to the defendant's character.
Lord Van Zeeks,
Inspector Gregson. What?
Yes, Inspector.
we had a meeting yesterday at the yard with the prosecution service, and I think it was agreed that that disc wouldn't be used as evidence.
What's this all about? Why is the inspector acting strangely? That's the first time he said anything to Van Zeeks at all.
I am unaware of any such meeting.
But those were the instructions right from the top. Government bigwigs were insisting.
Inspector, I am the prosecutor, and I alone determine how to present my case. Your warning is noted. Thank you. The prosecution wishes to proceed for submitting this disc as evidence, my lord.
Indeed. Bailiff?
The prosecution has established the accused's motive, opportunity, and baseness of character. There is nothing more to add. Ladies and gentlemen of the jury, I await your informed decisions and rest my case.
Oh dear. I don't believe it. I had the jury on my side for once. For all of 5 minutes. Oh dear. It wasn't even for 5 minutes, Renault.
My lord.
Wonder if I might say something at this point.
Proceed, Mr. Philman.
Been stumbling about in a bit of a fog up to now, if truth be told, but all of a sudden, the answer's barely obvious to me and all my men.
There's only one thing for it. Oh, no. Very well. The court will hear from the jury. Ladies and gentlemen, you will present your leadings as to the defendant's culpability.
Guilty.
Guilty. Guilty.
Guilty.
But
Guilty.
why? Okay, thank you. We have a consensus among the jury, it seems.
When you have eliminated the impossible, whatever remains must be the truth.
That's my line. I wrote that for early. Ah, how dare you use it against us? Don't worry, Iris. I don't think we're finished yet. There's still more to this case than we realize. There must be, because there's one thing that I'm absolutely certain of. Gina didn't shoot Mr. Windybank. That's beyond any doubt. Very well. We will proceed with the second summation examination of the day. Mr. Foreman, are you and the other jurors ready? Garrett Squadron is primed and ready for action, sir. Very good. So, ladies and gentlemen of the jury, you will each explain on what grounds you have now determined the defendant to be guilty. Once a rogue, always a rogue, I say. Different breed test law-abiding citizens. As only 2 bullets were found at the scene, I would say the whole case is done and dusted. You don't need your stethoscope to see the truth here. Every which way you look at it, it was that pickpocket. I never imagined that a simple operation would cause me such grief. The accused attempted a thief on the previous day. I can see I am in for a busy day ahead.
I am ballistics expert. I have seen many shootings. There is nothing I do not know about guns.
Oh. It would seem there is little remaining room for doubt. I have to admit I was rather bowled over by the argument put forward by the chap in black, but when that fell apart like a house of cards, I saw that I'd jolly well been hoodwinked. Well, no more. The whole courtroom is turning against me. It's not fair. Iris, that prosecutor is being mean. Just because Jenny's done something she couldn't have done in the past, that doesn't make her a murderer.
Allow me to savor this fruity vintage while I savor the spectacle of your fruitless debate on the matter. Here's to the truth coming out. Eventually.
That's enough preamble. Counsel, proceed with the summation examination. Yes, my lord.